A night no one could forget but no one remembers. They went into the forest to disconnect, but they came back different. It began with laughter, the kind of night that feels infinite. Cool air, campfire crackling, a circle of friends under the stars. Just 8 of them. Phones off, stories flowing. Nothing but the sound of nature. Until 2:13 a.m. A light, hovering, silent. Do you see that? Everyone stood up at once. Something was floating above the treetops. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a plane. It was something else. Oval-shaped, metallic, pulsing with a soft, white glow. No sound, not even wind. Then, without a word, they all stared, frozen, eyes wide, mouths open, and then black. When they opened their eyes again, the sun was rising. Birds chirping, sky clear. At first, no one said anything, just yawns and stretches. A feeling of fog. What time is it? 6:43. Wait, what? It didn't make sense. They had been awake, then sudden limmering. But it got weirder. Their watches all stopped at 2:17 a.m. Each one, exact same time. Phone batteries dead. Burn marks, perfect circles scorched into the dirt, like something massive had hovered just a few feet above. But no one remembered, not fully, just flashes, a soft humming sound, a sense of being washed. One of them, Tara, started crying. She didn't know why. She just felt wrong. Another, Jace, had a nosebleed. He never got those. All 8 of them were shaken, and none of them could explain why. What happened during those missing 4 hours? Why do they all remember the light but nothing after? Were they drugged, dreaming, or was it something more? This wasn't just a spooky night. This was real. This was documented. They had video, or they thought they did. But when they checked the GoPro mounted near the tent, the memory card was wiped. Completely blank. Tara was sure she had recorded something. She remembered hitting record. They all saw the blinking red light, but now nothing. Even the phone gallery was strange. Photos from the night were blurry, distorted, like digital noise had corrupted the files. Just static, like someone or something didn't want them to remember. Here's what we know. 8 people saw something. Time was lost. All digital evidence vanished. Physical signs remained. Scorched earth stopwatches, dead batteries. And still no one could remember what happened. Is it possible for a group to experience the same amnesia? Or were their memories taken? And if they were, by who? Or what? Over the following weeks, things got stranger. Tara started dreaming in a language she didn't know. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., she would jolt awake, drenched in sweat. Jace kept drawing the same symbol, over and over, a triangle with a circle inside it. He didn't know why. He'd never seen it before. One of the others, Liam, stopped talking altogether. He dropped out of school, deleted all his social media, moved back in with his parents. He wouldn't explain why. They weren't just scared. They were changed. Is this an isolated case? Not even close. Throughout history, there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of similar encounters, and one disturbing pattern connects them all: mass memory loss. In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving through New Hampshire when they saw bright light in the sky. The next thing they remember they were 35 miles down the road, 2 hours missing. No explanation. Under hypnosis, they recalled terrifying details: being taken aboard a craft, medical experiments, beings with large black eyes. But when they were conscious, nothing. Just time gone. And this isn't ancient history. It's still happening. In 2020, A group of hikers in Oregon reported seeing a glowing sphere hover silently above their tent. The next morning, they found symbols carved into a nearby tree, and none of them remembered falling asleep or waking up. These aren't just creepy stories. They're patterns, with witnesses, evidence, and trauma. So, what's happening here? Is there a force unknown to science that can erase memory or manipulate it? Neurologists have long studied how trauma can block certain memories, but trauma shared by multiple people at the exact same time, with physical evidence, that's something else. Let's go back to the forest. For hours. Gone. 8 people. Empty minds. What happened in that gap? Did they see something that wasn't meant to be seen? Was something done to them? Could they have been abducted? It sounds extreme, but many abduction reports include the same symptoms: time loss, missing or altered memories, physical marks, technological interference. Even governments have taken these reports seriously. The U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book investigated 12,618 UFO reports from 1952 to 1969. Hundreds remain unexplained. In 2021, the Pentagon released its UAP report, confirming at least 143 cases of unidentified aerial phenomena that defied known physics. The implication: something's out there, and it's beyond our control. So if this happens again, if you see something in the sky, something glowing, something silent, ask yourself, will you remember it? Or will it remember you? Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you see, it's what you can't remember. The strange phenomenon of collective amnesia after seeing a UFO. What if you saw something impossible, and the next day your mind erased it? What if it wasn't just you, but everyone around you? This isn't a rare story. It's a global pattern. People see something in the sky, a glowing shape, a silent craft, and then time disappears. Not just minutes, sometimes hours. They wake up confused, afraid, changed, and they don't know why. Some call it alien abduction. Others say it's psychological shock. But whatever it is, the mind forgets. The body remembers. This isn't fiction. This has been happening for decades. Let's talk about one of the most famous cases. The first to put missing time on the map. Betty and Barney Hill, 1961. New Hampshire. A couple driving home at night. A bright light appeared above their car. It followed them, hovered, then vanished. They got home 2 hours later than expected, but couldn't explain why. Time was missing. Days passed. They began to feel anxious. Barney had dreams of strange beings, large heads, slanted eyes. Betty dreamed of being examined, machines, needles, telepathy. But these were only fragments. Nothing made sense. Nothing felt complete. Finally, under hypnosis, the memories came. They described being taken aboard a craft, cold metal rooms, medical procedures, beings that didn't speak but somehow communicated, and then a blank space, a return to their car, and time had moved. Skeptics said it was imagination, stress, hallucination. But why did both recall the same experience? Separately, why the same imagery, the same fear? Why were their watches broken? Why did Barney's shoes show strange wear, as if he had been dragged? These weren't just dreams. Something happened, and they couldn't remember it until they were forced. This is called UFO-induced amnesia, a specific kind of memory loss reported again and again. Psychologists call it dissociation, trauma that forces the mind to block memory. But in UFO cases, it often happens to multiple people at the exact same time. How? How can a group of people all forget the same thing? Unless they were made to forget. Thousands of similar reports have followed. In 1975, Travis Walton, a logger in Arizona, vanished after a UFO encounter. His co-workers saw a beam of light hit him and he disappeared. They were accused of murder. 5 days later returned, disoriented, hungry, and with no memory of what happened. Later, under hypnosis, recalled a ship, beings, light, and a feeling of floating. He wasn't alone, and neither are the others. In case after case, people see a UFO. They feel paralyzed. There's a bright flash. Time goes missing. They wake up confused, and their memories gone, like someone erased them. Let's go back to the campers in part 1. 8 people, all saw the object, all lost for hours, all forgot. Is that coincidence? Or is something, some force targeting human memory? And if so, why? Some researchers believe UFOs emit electromagnetic radiation strong enough to interfere with memory formation. There's evidence. In several cases, watches stop, phones die, compasses spin. Could that same force disrupt the brain's hippocampus, the part that stores memories? Others believe it's psychological, that the brain chooses to forget as a defense. But what if it's neither? What if it's intentional? What if something is erasing memories on purpose? That's the theory behind mind wipe technology, used in military experiments, rumored in top-secret black projects, and allegedly used by alien life forms. Wild? Yes. But then how do you explain a room full of people all forgetting the same thing? How do you explain the trauma, the dreams, the lost time? Here's another chilling case. The Lagash abductions, Maine, 1976. For friends, a camping trip. They saw a bright object over the lake, a beam of light, and then black. They woke up in their tents, disturbed, confused. Later, all four recalled the same experience under hypnosis, being taken, examined, paralyzed, and then returned. The shock, none of them remembered it until years later. All four had the same gap in time, the same flashbacks, the same dreams. Is this mass hallucination, or shared trauma, or is it something else? A technology we can't understand, a manipulation of memory itself. And if they can erase what we saw, what else can they erase? There's one more detail. The people who forget, they never forget the feeling. Something stays. A scent, a frequency, a pressure in the air. Their brains forget, but their bodies don't, and that is perhaps the most terrifying part. Because if our minds can be altered, if memories can be removed, how do we know what's real? How many times have we seen something and forgotten? This brings us back to the present. More people are coming forward, more stories, more missing time. In 2021, the U.S. government released a groundbreaking UAP report. 143 sightings. No explanations. No technology on Earth could match the flight characteristics. And yet, they offered no theories, just silence. What aren't they telling us? Is the government hiding technology? Have they encountered life beyond Earth? Or are they trying to protect us from what we're not ready to know? Because if memory can be erased, how would we ever find the truth? If this happened to you, would you know? Would you even realize something was missing? Or would you just wake up one day, feeling off, haunted by something you can't name? Because that's how it starts. A flash, a missing hour, a strange dream, and a memory that never comes back. What if we've all seen something? What if the only reason we don't believe in UFOs is because We're not allowed to remember them. What if forgetting is part of the plan? The real events: Roswell, Lubbock lights, Phoenix lights. Lights in the sky. Silent, massive, impossible to ignore. What do they have in common? Why do they haunt history? Are they accidents? Or messages? Or something else entirely? Let's go back to 1947. Roswell, New Mexico. A rancher finds strange debris scattered across his land. Metal shards, strange rubber-like material. No markings, no explanation. Word spreads fast. The U.S. military steps in. They announce they recovered a weather balloon, but whispers say otherwise. Some claim it was a crash of an alien spacecraft. Bodies recovered. Cover-ups. This became the Roswell incident, the most famous UFO event of all time. It sparked decades of conspiracy theories. Did the government recover alien technology? Are they hiding it from us? No one knows for sure, but witnesses reported strange lights that night. Lights that moved unlike any aircraft known. Next, 1951. Lubbock, Texas. Hundreds of people report seeing glowing orbs flying in formation. They called them the Lubbock lights. Silent, steady, hovering in the night sky. Photographs were taken, but experts argued over what they were: birds, flares, or something unexplainable. The key detail: eyewitnesses described a sense of awe and fear, something not natural. And just like Roswell, the memories were hazy. Witnesses could not recall exact details. Time seemed distorted. Fast forward to 1997. Phoenix, Arizona. Thousands of people witnessed one of the largest UFO sightings ever recorded. The Phoenix Lights. A huge V-shaped formation of lights. Silent, slow-moving, visible for over an hour. Military bases denied involvement. Officials claimed flares from training exercises, but thousands disagreed. Videos surfaced. Photos circulated worldwide. News reports went viral. What's haunting about these events? Each one shares three things: bright, unexplained lights, dead silence from the object, witnesses with vague, foggy memories of what they saw. Why do so many witnesses report memory loss or confusion? Are their minds overwhelmed, blocked, or manipulated? Let's look deeper. In all three cases, witnesses described feeling an eerie silence, a sense that the object was watching them. Sudden time gaps, minutes lost. Many admitted they could not remember what happened during those moments, as if the experience was erased from their minds. In 1947, some Roswell witnesses reported dreamlike lapses. They would recall fragments of strange lights, then blackness. Similar reports came from Lubbock and Phoenix. Could this be coincidence or clue? Governments denied any alien involvement, but documents revealed later told a different story. Declassified files from the CIA and the Pentagon admitted they investigated these sightings. The famous Project Blue Book cataloged thousands of reports, many unexplained. They acknowledged strange phenomena that defied physics, but official conclusions, often no threat or inconclusive. This silence only fueled suspicion. Were the lights warnings, tests, or something else? The witnesses, they were left with more questions than answers. One pilot from the Air National Guard, who observed the Phoenix Lights, said, "It was huge. It moved like nothing I've ever seen. Silent, slow, but powerful. And yet, no clear explanation. No memory of what the craft was. Just shattered fragments of recollection." Could these events be connected? Are the light signs of the same force? A presence we barely understand? The memory loss, the silence, the glowing orbs, are they part of a pattern? one that points to a truth hidden from us. If they wanted us to know, why erase memories? If they mean no harm, why the silence? If this is technology, why is it so advanced? Could it be that these lights are not just objects in the sky, but a message, a test, or a warning? And if so, what are they trying to say? The story continues. The lights keep appearing, the memories keep fading, and we are left to wonder, what are we missing? Shocking testimonies from pilots, witnesses, and military insiders. What if the people we trust the most, the ones trained to observe and report, are telling us something terrifying? What if they've seen what we aren't supposed to see? And what if they've started to forget? This isn't fiction. These are trained pilots, fighter jet captains, radar operators, military insiders. And their stories? Chilling, consistent, and almost identical to the group of friends from the forest. Let's start in the skies. Pilots are not prone to exaggeration. They're disciplined. They're taught to measure, record, confirm. But many have come forward, describing encounters with objects that move faster than sound, that change direction without inertia, that watch them. Commander David Fravor, U.S. Navy pilot, 2004, training mission off the coast of California. He sees a white TC-shaped object. No wings, no exhaust. It moves erratically, drops 80,000 feet in seconds, then vanishes. He and his team are stunned. His words, "I have no idea what I saw, but it wasn't from this world." This is not an isolated incident. Pilots across the world, military and commercial, have seen the same thing. But some report more than just sightings. They report memory gaps. One Air Force pilot, anonymous for safety, stated, "We were scrambled to intercept. The object matched every move we made perfectly. Then it shot upward and disappeared. I blacked out for a second. When I came to, it was gone. I thought it was just G-force. But later that night, I couldn't remember the full mission." Then there's Luis Elizondo, former head of AUTOP Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, a secret Pentagon project to study UFOs. He resigned. Then he spoke out. In a 2018 interview, he said, "Some cases are deeply disturbing. The craft behave as if they're not bound by gravity, and in a few reports, the witnesses lose time or can't remember parts of the encounter." Wait, what? Top-level military reports with missing memory. Does that sound familiar? It should, because it matches perfectly with what happened to the 8 campers in Part 1. Bright lights, no sound, watches stopped for our stone. And now, pilots, soldiers, even intelligence officers, reporting the same thing. Are they being watched, studied, or tested? And why do their minds go blank afterward? Another pilot's testimony from Brazil's Air Force. "I was flying a routine patrol. Then we saw 3 lights moving in perfect triangle formation. Our radar couldn't lock on. Suddenly the lights rushed toward us and everything went white. I woke up still flying. My co-pilot didn't remember anything. I had to land the plane myself." What could cause trained military aviators to forget in mid-flight? What kind of technology can interfere with memory, sight, sound without physical contact? There's more. In 2021, a leaked U.S. Navy video showed a pyramid-shaped UFO flying over a destroyer. The video was confirmed real by the Pentagon, and yet no official explanation. Just silence. But witnesses who were there say strange things happened afterward. Nausea, headaches, strange dreams, flashes of memory they couldn't place. I kept seeing green light behind my eyes, even when I closed them. These are not isolated people. They're professionals, and they're all describing the same symptoms: lost time, distorted memories, physical side effects, emotional confusion. Does that sound like mass hysteria or controlled memory interference? Elizondo, again, we don't know what these objects are, but they interact with us. They observe us. Sometimes they affect us. That word, affect, what does it mean? Emotionally, mentally, neurologically, can they reach into our brains? Can they delete what we know? In some cases, yes. A former radar tech in Nevada told investigators, "I tracked something for 20 minutes. Then I blinked. It was gone. My logs were erased. My CO told me to forget it ever happened. But I can't forget that I forgot something." And this is the pattern. Not just sightings, not just footage, not just lights, but memory failure, wiped logs, blank minds, and fear. Let's be honest, if these were hallucinations, we'd expect chaos, inconsistencies, randomness. But instead, it's structured, almost clinical, always the same elements: bright lights, silence, sudden approach, memory disruption. No physical damage, but deep psychological scars. Is someone or something running experiments, watching how we react? If so, it's working, because the fear isn't just in what people saw, it's in what they don't remember. And yet there's one final twist. Some memories come back, slowly, in fragments, dreams, drawings, unexplainable fears. Just like Tara, the camper from Part 1, who began dreaming in an unknown language, or Jace, who drew the same symbol over and over a triangle with a circle, like a forgotten stamp burned into the mind. Many military witnesses report the same thing. One Navy technician said, "Months later, I woke up screaming. I was in a room, metal walls, a being standing over me. I don't know if it was real, but I've never been that scared in my life." Could the mind store these memories somewhere deeper? Could something inside us still remember even when we don't? What would happen if we unlocked it? What if the truth is buried inside our own heads? And most importantly, why are these stories not front-page news? Why do we dismiss them? What if we've been conditioned to forget? The testimonies are stacking up, from campers, to pilots, to the Pentagon itself. And the conclusion? There is no conclusion, only fear, and silence, and questions that never go away. What's out there is not just observing us, it's reaching into us. And maybe it already has. Theory 1: Do UFOs emit energy fields that interfere with the human brain? What if it's not aliens with syringes? What if it's not secret military tech? What if all it takes is a field of invisible energy? Something we can't see, can't hear, but our brains feel it. Some scientists believe UFOs don't need to take us. They just have to get close. And when they do, everything changes. The theory: UFOs emit powerful electromagnetic fields, EM for short, and EMF can mess with more than your phone. It can mess with your mind. Think about it. Your brain is electric. Every thought, every memory, a spark of energy between neurons. Now imagine something hovering above you, pulsing with power beyond anything we understand. Could it jam your mind, like static over a radio? Could it freeze your thoughts, block memory formation, delete time? It sounds impossible, but the evidence is stacking up. Let's go back to the 8 campers. They saw the craft, then time stopped, watches froze, phones died, brains went blank. That's exactly what extreme EMF exposure can do. Dr. Michael Persinger, a neuroscientist from Canada, once ran an experiment called the God Helmet. He used weak electromagnetic pulses on volunteers' brains. The result? They saw visions, felt watched, reported floating. Some even cried. And the wildest part, the effect mimicked alien abductions. Now imagine that, but thousands of times stronger, from a craft in the sky, right above your head. What would happen to your brain? Would it freeze? Skip time? Forget. In many reports, UFO encounters are followed by headaches, nausea, dizziness, disorientation, temporary amnesia, all symptoms of electromagnetic overexposure. In 1980, U.S. Air Force personnel in Rendlesham Forest, UK encountered a glowing object. Afterwards, they reported malfunctioning radios, burned tree bark, watches that stopped, and yes, memory loss. One witness claimed, "I felt like my thoughts weren't mine anymore, like something inside me had short-circuited." This isn't science fiction. This is documented. Electromagnetic fields are used in modern medicine, for therapy, for pain relief, even to alter mood. So, is it that hard to believe that something advanced, something not human, could use EMF to control memory? Not through implants, not through surgery, just through proximity. Another example, Cashlendrum incident, 1980, Texas. 2 women and a child encountered a diamond-shaped UFO. It glowed intensely. The car's engine died. Their skin began to burn. They were hospitalized, diagnosed with radiation-like symptoms, hair loss, blisters, cognitive fog. One of them never recovered fully. No one could explain it, but physicists suggested high-intensity microwave radiation. And what do microwaves do? They scramble molecules, and they disrupt neural activity, just like extreme EMF. So now we ask, is missing time just brain damage, temporary targeted interference? Or is it deliberate? Are we being shut off like machines? And when they're done with us, they switch us back on. Some UFOs even seem to produce measured pulses of energy. In 2004, during the USS Nimitz incident, a radar operator reported there was a spike in interference, like someone was jamming us. But the source was nothing. We couldn't lock on. It wasn't just stealthy, it was erasing itself. What kind of technology can jam radar, disable electronics, and still leave witnesses dazed? Researchers have proposed this. The craft arrives. It emits a focused EMF burst. It creates confusion-dizable memory formation. Witnesses lose ours without realizing. Sound extreme? It's already happening in nature. The cephalopod defense system. Cuttlefish and octopuses can emit pulses that confuse prey. They hypnotize fish with strobe patterns. The fish freeze up realize while the cephalopod strikes. It's naturally enough used for neurological disruption. What if UFOs are doing the same to us? Still not convinced? Let's talk aviation records. In multiple FAA incident logs, pilots report sudden disorientation, momentary blackout, loss of time perception, memory aids after visual contact. Most of these were written off as fatigue or high-altitude pressure. But what if they weren't? What if UFOs are testing how much we can forget? And now connect the dots. Lights, silence, time loss, dead batteries, memory gaps, burn marks, nausea, all can be caused by intense electromagnetic exposure. And every major UFO event has these symptoms. Roswell, Lubbock, Phoenix, the campers in the forest, the pilots in the sky. Different places, different people, same pattern. Is the abduction narrative a distraction? What if no one is taken at all? What if we're just standing still or minds frozen while they do? whatever they came to do, and we wake up with no idea it ever happened. Ask yourself, would you know if someone had wiped your mind? Would you feel the silence? Would you sense something missing? And here's the darkest question. What if the memories are still inside you, buried, waiting? One day you pass a light, one sound triggers a flash, and suddenly, the dream returns. The glow, the silence, the missing, because memories don't always vanish. Sometimes they hide. Theory 2: Alien memory manipulation. Is mind-wipe technology real? What if you've already seen them? What if they stood right in front of you, and you just can't remember? It sounds impossible, unbelievable, a plot from science fiction. But this theory, it dates back decades, buried inside official files, mentioned in whispered testimony, hidden in declassified reports. It's called mind-wipe theory, and it might explain everything. Why witnesses forget, why time disappears, why no one remembers what the UFO really looked like. Because maybe we're not allowed to remember. The theory goes like this. Some UFOs aren't just flying machines. They're equipped with advanced neural technology. They can interfere with the human brain, not by radiation, not by fear, but with intention. They target your perception, your short-term memory. They enter your mind and flip a switch. Forget. This theory isn't just fantasy. It appears in real reports, military programs, eyewitness accounts, even in the famous Project Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force's secret UFO investigation from 1952 to 1969. Inside its documents are hints, references to psychological distortion after sightings, mentions of witnesses who failed to retain visual details, descriptions of perceptual blocking, but no conclusions, just silence. Why? Was it because they had no explanation, or because they knew exactly what was happening? In 1961, Betty and Barney Hill became the first public case of an alleged alien abduction. They remembered nothing of the incident until months later, under hypnosis. And what surfaced? Scenes of being paralyzed, taken, probed, communicated with without words. When asked why they didn't remember earlier, Betty said, "They told us we wouldn't." They were those beings controlling their memory. Did they implant a command? To forget? To erase? To block? It wasn't the last time. Thousands of abductees over the years reported the same. Glowing lights, beings with black eyes, a blank gap, and a sense that the memory was taken, not lost. Even more disturbing, some claim the aliens told them so. One abductee wrote in her journal, "They said I wouldn't remember, that it was better for me. Safer." What does that mean? Safer for who? And how would you even know you were manipulated? How can you fight something you can't detect? That's what makes this theory so terrifying. It's not just a machine. It's not just light in the sky. It's a weapon against memory itself. Dr. John Mack, Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize-winning author, interviewed hundreds of abductees. His conclusion: they weren't crazy. They had no history of hallucination, no signs of mental illness, but they all shared one thing, a sense that what they remembered was only part of the truth. They remembered being told, "Don't look, don't speak, don't tell," and most disturbingly, "Don't remember." So, how would this memory wipe work? Neuroscientists suggest that if a being had advanced control over frequency and resonance, they could stimulate the brain in ways we can't understand. Not destroy memory, but block its access, like a firewall, installed in your own mind. Others believe in a more biological approach. What if these beings emit neuroactive chemicals, like pheromones, or magnetic pulses that could scramble your brain's short-term memory storage. You see something, but a second later, it's gone. No trace, no imprint, and that explains the missing time, the blackouts, the mental fog, the confusion, the dreams. But there's another layer. Some say this is not just technology. It's telepathic control, not machines, not devices, just thought. What if they don't need tools? What if their minds are powerful enough to enter ours, to suggest, to edit, to erase? That's what scares psychologists who study alien abduction claims, because in many cases, victims say, "I felt like my thoughts weren't my own. Something was inside my head. It wasn't talking to me, it was reprogramming me." Do we have evidence? Some, and it's disturbing. EEG scans of abductees show strange brainwave activity, similar to patients under hypnosis or extreme trauma. Some even have neurological scarring, tiny lesions, unexplained, coincidence. And what about dreams? Many abductees say they begin to remember their encounter slowly, in flashes, in fragments, in symbols. Why? Because the mind remembers in layers. If the top layer is wiped, the lower ones might still hold the truth, buried, dormant, waiting. And that's why this theory matters. Because if your memory can be manipulated, then reality can be rewritten, not just hidden, but replaced. What if the real reason we don't believe in UFOs is because someone has turned off the part of our minds that would? And if they can do that, what else can they do? Control emotion, alter decisions, make us forget who we are. Some researchers believe this explains why government officials, military insiders stay silent. They're not just being threatened, they're being reset, over and over again. One former defense contractor anonymously stated, "We weren't told to lie. We were told we wouldn't remember anyway." And remember the campers? They didn't believe in UFOs until that night. Then, blackout, time lost, memories erased, and only when they tried to run, only when fear cut through the fog, did something start to return. Because emotion is harder to erase. You might wipe facts, dates, images, but the feeling, that stays, and it haunts. So ask yourself, what if you've seen them? What if you've met them? And the only reason you don't remember is because they didn't want you to. Theory 3 is the government hiding the truth. What if the memory loss isn't alien? What if it's human? Could someone on Earth, with access to advanced technology, be testing it on us? Could the fog in our minds be part of a plan? It's not just science fiction. Not anymore. Some researchers believe the strange memory gaps, the blackouts, the lost hours, aren't caused by UFOs at all, but by something closer, something darker, secret technology, government experiments, black projects, and the worst part, we might never know. Let's start with this. In 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released the UAP report, a long-awaited document on unidentified aerial phenomena. Inside, over 140 cases of UAP encounters by military personnel. Many involved unexplained motion, interference with aircraft, and unusual physiological effects. But the rest of the data, redacted, censored, blacked out. We were told the rest is classified for national security. Why? What's in those files? What are they protecting? Or what are they hiding? Because here's where it gets disturbing. Some whistleblowers believe the government is not just observing UFOs. They're studying them, replicating them, and even using them. We're talking about black ops, deeply classified programs, no budget trails, no congressional oversight, no public accountability. And some of these operations, insiders say, involve directed energy weapons. These are not lasers, not bombs. They're fields, electromagnetic waves, microwaves, pulses of energy that can disable electronics and minds. Sound familiar? It should, because those are the exact symptoms experienced by campers in the woods, pilots in the sky, military witnesses, civilians worldwide, missing time, memory fog, internal disorientation, dreams that aren't dreams. What if these aren't alien experiments? What if they're ours? Remember MKUltra, the CIA's real-life mind control program from the 1950s, 1970s? They tested LSD hypnosis, sensory deprivation, on unwitting subjects, prisoners, students, even soldiers, all in the name of national security. It happened. It's not a theory. It's public record. And when it was exposed, the documents were destroyed. Most victims were never identified. The full scope never revealed. Now ask yourself, if they did that back then, what are they doing now? Some say the government discovered alien technology long ago. Roswell, Rendlesham, even Area 51. Not just crashed craft, but something more valuable. The ability to erase memory, to suppress fear, to rewrite thought. And they've been trying to reverse engineer it ever since. Could this be why certain UFO encounters are always followed by memory loss? Because humans are using experimental tech on civilians, without consent, without oversight, and calling it alien. It's the perfect cover. If people start asking questions, just say, must have been a UFO. One whistleblower, a former NSA cryptologist, claimed this. We've developed microwave-based cognitive weapons, used mostly for field tests. Targets never remember. That's the point. And here's where the timelines blur. Because as sightings increased, so did classified energy programs. DARPA, Naval Research Labs, Air Force Research Laboratory, all testing directed energy systems. Some designed to disable drones, others to affect human behavior. Coincidence? And what about the campers? What if they stumbled into a test zone? What if the craft they saw wasn't extraterrestrial? What if it was military, a black ops vehicle, equipped with experimental tech, and when they saw too much, they were wiped? Not abducted, not contacted, neutralized. But the memory wipe wasn't perfect. Small fragments leaked through. The burn marks, the 4 lost hours, the dreams, the symbols, like data leaking through a broken firewall. They weren't supposed to remember, but they did. And then there's the cover-up pattern. Each time a UFO story breaks, the government says the same things. Flares, drones, training exercises. Yet the real data is sealed. Witnesses are discredited. Videos vanish. Audio is accidentally erased. Just like in Phoenix Lights 1997. Thousands saw it, but the official explanation, military flares. Even though there was no sound, the object moved too slowly. Flares don't fly in formation for hours. Even the governor of Arizona later admitted, what I saw wasn't from this earth. So why lie? Why protect secrecy at all costs? Because maybe the UFO phenomenon isn't just about aliens. Maybe it's about who controls truth and who gets to remember it. Governments thrive on control and memory. That's the ultimate battlefield. Control what people know. You control what they believe. Now imagine the perfect weapon. Not one that kills, but one that makes you forget. Forget what you saw. Forget what you felt. Forget what you learned. No evidence, no trauma, no trace, only doubt. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it never happened. Now you understand. The theory isn't just that governments are hiding the truth. It's that they're testing what truth even is, and how easily it can be deleted. So the next time someone tells you about a strange light, or a memory they can't explain, or a dream that feels too real, ask yourself, are they remembering, or resisting, warning, or communication beyond human intelligence? What if forgetting isn't failure? What if it's the message? What if memory loss isn't a malfunction, but the only way they know how to talk to us? What if every blackout, every lost hour, every dream was intentional, a pattern, a code, a language too complex for our minds to grasp? It sounds insane, but some of the world's leading UFO researchers now believe it. Alien contact might not look like a conversation. It might look like confusion. Let's go deeper. Some theorists believe that aliens are whatever's behind the phenomena are trying to hide. They're trying to communicate, but not with words, not with sound, not even with visuals, with consciousness. But here's the problem. Our minds can't keep up, just like a dog can't understand algebra, or a bird can't read a map. Maybe we're simply too early, too primitive, too young, too human. So when they reach out, we break, our memory collapses, our time perception shatters. We see fragments, feel panic, then oh thing. Some believe this is why memory loss always follows close encounters. Not because we're being silenced, but because we're being overloaded. It's not a cover-up, it's a crash, like downloading software into hardware that can't handle it. The mind reacts the only way it can. It shuts down. A strange shape, a flash of light, a vibration in the air. Then hours vanish. Reality fractures. The brain can't file the experience, so it erases it. But here's where it gets even stranger. What if they knew this would happen? What if the memory gaps, the strange dreams, the recurring symbols, are all deliberate breadcrumbs, left not for who we are now, but for who we might become? Think of it like time capsules, planted inside our subconscious, waiting, not for days, not for years, but for evolution. A growing theory in the fringe scientific community is called cognitive seeding. It suggests that advanced beings may insert ideas, symbols, or signals into the unconscious mind of a species. And over time, as that species evolves, it begins to unlock them, like forgotten keys, to doors we didn't know were there. So, when someone sees a symbol, a triangle in a circle, a humming frequency, a word they can't translate, but feel in their bones, maybe it's not a hallucination. Maybe it's a seed, planted by something that understands consciousness better than we ever could. Let's go back to the group in the forest. Remember Jace? The one who kept drawing the same strange shape. He didn't know what it meant, but when researchers compared it to other abductee sketches, they matched exactly, from different continents, different languages, different years, but the same symbol, over and over and over. Could that be a message, an echo of something buried deep, a signal left in the dark? It's not just symbols. Many experiencers report hearing thoughts that weren't their own, or dreaming in languages they've never studied. Some write them down, and shockingly, they match ancient dialects, dead scripts, lost civilizations, even submarine glyphs. What does that mean? That the mind is hallucinating, or remembering something implanted, something waiting to be understood. Dr. Jacques Vallée, one of the world's leading UFO researchers, once said, "We are not dealing with beings from another planet. We are dealing with a control system to guide our thoughts, or maybe to accelerate them." What if these encounters are tests, designed not to communicate in our terms, but to pull us forward, to force us to evolve, to unlock parts of the brain that remain dormant, to teach us how to see reality differently? Because if you wanted to talk to ants, would you use words? Or would you change the terrain? One neurologist put it simply, maybe we don't remember because we can't yet. And now we ask, is this memory loss a form of protection or preparation? If alien intelligence is truly beyond us, then maybe the only way they can interact is through the edges of our awareness, through dreams, through symbols, through gaps in time, like a whisper in the dark, not meant for the ear, but for the soul. Could we be part of something bigger, an experiment, a puzzle, a species-wide initiation? If they wanted to hurt us, they would have. If they wanted to be known, they would have. So why erase? Why not speak? Unless they already are, in a way we don't recognize. Maybe that light in the sky wasn't a threat. Maybe it was an invitation. Maybe we didn't lose for ours. Maybe we were given for ours, of something we're not ready to comprehend. And the memory, the fear, the disorientation, was our brain rejecting the upgrade. So what now? Do we wait? Do we try to remember? Or do we look deeper into dreams, symbols, the things we dismiss? Because what if they left something behind in all of us? And what if one day we finally understand? The witness returns recurring nightmares or buried memories. It started 3 nights after the encounter. He couldn't sleep, not properly. Every time he closed his eyes, it came back. Not a face, not a place, just light, white, blinding, endless. Then came the sound, a humming, low, constant, wrong, like electricity and wind. Inside his skull, he'd wake up sweating, shaking, heart racing, but he couldn't explain why. Because there were no details, only a feeling, a sense of being lifted. That's all he could say. I wasn't standing anymore. I wasn't on the ground. I was floating, weightless, like something had pulled me up. Dream, hallucination, stress, or something deeper. What if this wasn't a nightmare? What if it was a memory, coming back, slowly, in pieces? Psychologists call this delayed recall. It happens after trauma. The brain buries certain events, too intense, too strange, too foreign. But over time, the barrier weakens, and when it does, you don't remember. You relive. He began keeping a journal, trying to write down every detail, each time the nightmare returned. At first, just the light, then came the humming, then the floating, then nothing. He'd wake before the moment it became clear, every time, as if something was stopping him, or someone. He brought the pages to a therapist. The therapist didn't laugh. Instead, she asked, "Do you believe you've experienced something real?" He paused, then nodded, because it felt real, too real. And what scared him most? Each night, the dream got clearer, until one night, he saw them, not fully, just outlines, shapes, moving around him. No faces, just silhouettes in the white. And a voice, not heard, felt, "You won't remember." He woke up screaming, and for the first time, he didn't forget. He drew what he saw, and when he showed it to a researcher, they froze, because the shape he drew, the outline, matched hundreds of other reports, from abductees, from soldiers, from pilots. Same posture, Same strange proportions. Same void where the face should be. Was it coincidence, imagination, or shared experience? And then came the physical symptoms. Small burns on his arms, in circular patterns, metallic taste in his mouth, short-term memory glitches. Electronics around him began to flicker. Phones died, watches stopped. He wasn't just remembering. Something was reactivating. He contacted the others from the forest. Most didn't want to talk. One had moved cities. One refused to answer. One had started drinking heavily. But one replied and said, "I've been dreaming it too." Same sound, same floating. But he thought it was PTSD. Until now. To people. Same memory. Same experience. That's when the fear turned into panic. Because if it's more than one, it's not a dream. It's a pattern. He went back to the site, to the clearing in the forest. The burn marks were still there. The dead grass, the silence, as if the place remembered what no one else was supposed to. He stood in the center, where they had seen the light, and for a moment, everything felt familiar, like he had been there before, not 3 nights ago, but somewhere else, sometime else, like time had folded in on itself. Then, just as quickly, it was gone, but his chest was tight, and his ears began to ring, and the sound, that hum, low, buzzing, the same one from his dreams. He ran, but the damage was done. He started seeing flashes in daylight, blurs of movement in mirrors. The symbol, it appeared in his mind without warning. He began drawing it, on napkins, in the fog on bathroom glass, even carved into his desk. While asleep, he was losing control. Or was he regaining it? Was this trauma? Or was he breaking through? Some neurologists call it triggered recollection bursts, memories stored outside conscious access, that return when the brain is forced into alignment, by stress, by location, by time, or by the thing that caused them in the first place. What if the UFO encounter implanted something, a memory, a signal, a connection, and now it's reactivating? Worse, what if remembering was part of the plan? To awaken, to sync, to respond to something coming next. Because he wasn't alone. Within weeks, thousands of online reports began appearing. I keep dreaming of being lifted. I see shapes in the light. There's a sound in my head I can't stop. My phone won't hold charge anymore. I'm remembering something that never happened. All the same. All at once. Worldwide. Are they remembering too? Are we all? So now the question isn't what happened that night in the forest. It's what did they leave behind inside us? And what happens when the rest of it returns? Was it all just a collective hallucination? What if it never happened? What if the light, the sound, the missing time was all in their heads? Psychologists have a name for it. Memory contagion. It's real and dangerous. One person tells a story with just enough detail, just enough conviction, and suddenly others begin to remember it too, even if they never experienced it. Our brains are built for connection, and sometimes that backfires. It's called confabulation, a false memory formed from suggestion. You don't lie. You truly believe, but it's a belief built on someone else's words. And in group settings, it spreads like wildfire. A group of friends, alone in the woods. It's dark. They're scared. One sees a flash of light. Their heart races. They shout. The others start to look up. They see something, or think they do, and the mind fills in the blanks. Later, when they talk about it, the story grows, merges, becomes shared, and the missing time. It's panic, adrenaline, sleep disruption, Psychologists argue that this might be what really happened that night in the forest. A collective hallucination, born from fear, shaped by suggestion, reinforced by memory distortion. End of story. Not so fast. Because if that's all it was, what about the burn marks? What about the watches? Let's take them one by one. The burn marks. Several patches of grass in the clearing were scorched, not just browned, blackened, dead, perfect circles. No signs of fire, no ash, no footprints. Local forest rangers said they'd never seen anything like it. So, how do you hallucinate that? Could a group of scared friends have set the fire themselves? But with what? No flares, no fuel, no tools. And why? They didn't even notice the marks until the next morning. They weren't part of the story until after. The watches. 5 people, different brands, different models. All 5 stopped. Exactly 11:52 p.m. and resumed at 3:47 a.m. A 4-hour blackout. Identical. Unexplained. Could watches now function? Sure. Could all 5 malfunction in the exact same way, at the exact same time, for the exact same duration? Highly unlikely. Experts tried to recreate the effect. Strong magnetic fields. Nope. Would leave permanent damage if these didn't. Extreme cold. No. It wasn't cold that night. Remote jamming. Possible. But no devices nearby. So we're left with 2 facts. Burn marks. Stopwatches. Both physical. Both real. And neither explained by psychology. So where does that leave us? A paradox. A contradiction. The mind says, this could be imagination. But the ground says, no, this was real. Could both be true. What if the event happened, but the memory was contaminated? This is another theory, that the encounter was real, but the mind couldn't process it. So it filled in the blanks, distorted the sequence, twisted the meaning, to make it bearable, to make it human. The light, real. The sound, real. The floating, a metaphor for paralysis. The beings, symbolic of something we can't comprehend. Memory is fragile. We think of it as a recording. It's not. It's a reconstruction, a painting done from feeling, not fact. So maybe the group saw something, felt something that truly happened, but their minds weren't ready. So they stitched a story, a hallucination, built around a truth. And that's the most terrifying version of all. Because if we can't trust our memory, how do we know what's real? A researcher once put it like this: the phenomenon may not need to hide. It just has to overwhelm. So maybe the mind didn't imagine it. Maybe it surrendered. And what if that's the point? Maybe these experiences are designed not to be understood. Not fully, not clearly, but fragmented. So we chase shadows, doubt ourselves, question reality, until the truth becomes unrecognizable. Maybe that's the real memory contagion. Not the event, but the confusion. And that raises a new question. If this group is experiencing memory corruption, how many others already have, and don't even know it? How many false memories out there aren't false at all? Just fragments of contact, misfiled, misinterpreted, misbelieved. What if the line between delusion and disclosure is thinner than we think? And what if we're being trained over time to question everything, even our own minds? In the forest that night, something happened. That much is clear. But the mind's story might not be the right one. So the next time you wake from a strange dream, feeling like you've been somewhere else, with someone else, don't dismiss it. Don't forget it. Because maybe, just maybe, that's not memory playing tricks. It's memory breaking through. If it were you, would you believe? Imagine this. You see something strange in the sky. A light, a shape. It hovers in silence. And moving. Impossible. Then, black. Nothing. You wake up in your bed. But something's off. You feel it. In your skin. In your breath. In your gut. You remember going camping. You remember the laughter. The fire. The stars. But after that, blank. For our stone. Erased. You check your watch. Stopped. Just like your friends. You return to the clearing. There are marks on the ground. Scorched. Circular. None of you remember setting a fire. So now you're asking, was it real? Was it just a dream? You tell someone. They laugh. You hesitate. Maybe it's just stress. Maybe it's nothing. But deep down, you know, something happened. Then come the dreams. The white light. The buzzing sound. The weightlessness. Every single night, you wake up sweating, gasping, searching for something you can't name. But the dream keeps repeating. And worse, you're not the only one. Your friend calls. I keep dreaming it too. Suddenly, you're not alone. Suddenly it's not a dream. But now what? Do you dig deeper? Or do you forget? Do you tell more people? Or stay silent? Because no one wants to believe this. Not your family. Not your friends. Not the authorities. They say, you were probably tired. You imagined it. Maybe you just fell asleep. But none of that explains the missing time. The synchronized watches. The nightmares. The hum. The symbol burned into your memory. So you're left with one question. What if it really happened? And now ask yourself, honestly, if it were you, would you believe yourself? Would you chase the truth? Would you risk your reputation? Would you risk your sanity? Because the truth, it doesn't make life easier. It makes it harder. More questions, more fear, more isolation. No one wants to hear about aliens, or memory wipes, or missing time. They want logic, evidence, closure. But what if there isn't any? What if you're the only proof? What if your story is all that's left? Would you keep telling it, even when they roll their eyes? Even when they call you crazy? Even when they stop answering your calls? Or would you let it die? Push it down. Pretend it never happened. Lie to yourself. Because it's easier. But it never really goes away, does it? That hum. That flash. That sense that something's still watching. Still waiting. So, let's say you decide to search for answers. Where do you begin? UFO forums. Government documents. Conspiracy videos. You'll find others. Thousands of them. Same stories. Same dreams. Same void in memory. But no closure. Just fragments. Whispers. Patterns. So again, you're stuck. Because knowing something happened isn't the same as proving it. And sometimes, the truth feels more like a burden than a breakthrough. It isolates you from reality, from the people you love, from the version of yourself that still believed in normal. So, would you give up? Would you surrender to the silence? Or would you keep digging, keep writing, keep remembering, keep resisting the pull to forget? Because deep down, you know, this was real. You felt it. You still feel it. Maybe the real test isn't whether it happened, but whether you can keep going, even when no one believes you. Because if you don't, the story dies. And maybe that's what they want, to bury the truth inside your own doubt. So, viewer, whoever you are, wherever you're watching from, if one day you see a strange light in the sky, what will you do? Will you look away? Or will you remember this story? Will you tell someone? Or will you keep it to yourself? Because one day, it might be you, alone in the woods, with the buzzing, with the light, with the missing hours. And when you wake up, with no proof, no answers, just a feeling, will you believe it happened? Will you believe you? Because, in the end, that may be all you have. What's being hidden? And who's hiding it? Too many questions, not enough answers. Why are there so many reports, and so little response? Why do thousands of people see the same thing, and governments say nothing? What is being hidden? And more importantly, who's hiding it? Let's start with the obvious. Sightings happen regularly around the world. Lights in the sky, silent crafts, glowing shapes. People record them, post them, report them, and then silence. No news coverage, no government statement, no follow-up, just disappearance. So, you ask yourself, why? Is it because nothing happened, or because too much did? The U.S. government has admitted it. UFO identified aerial phenomena real. The Pentagon confirmed it in 2020. The UEP report released by the Director of National Intelligence listed over 140 unexplained cases, military pilots, radar logs, visual confirmation. But then, the documents stopped, classified, redacted, sealed. Why? If there's nothing to hide, why hide it? Now ask this. Could our memories be manipulated? Could some inner something be altering what we remember? It sounds like science fiction. But think again. We already know governments have studied mind control. Project MKUltra, a real CIA program, 1950s to 1970s. LSD, hypnosis, memory erasure. They wanted to create truth serums, Manchurian candidates, weapons of the mind. So, if they tried it then, what are they capable of now? Could the memory loss after UFO sightings be deliberate? Could we be made to forget? Not by aliens, but by our own people. Let's go darker. What if those burned circles on the ground aren't alien? What if they're tests from black budget projects, covert tech experiments, energy weapons never revealed to the public? What if the UFOs aren't extraterrestrial at all, but made here on Earth? Some whistleblowers claim just that. Advanced craft, anti-gravity, cloaking fields, decades ahead of known science. And when civilians see too much, they get erased, silenced, discredited. A plane flies too close. It vanishes from radar. The pilot hallucinated. A hiker records a glowing orb. His camera gets wiped. His story becomes a hoax. Are we being gaslighted at scale? Are governments not just hiding the truth, but rewriting it? And what about the witnesses? Why do so many share the same symptoms, the same dreams, the same loss of time? Is that a coincidence, or the side effect of something far more controlled? Let's ask the unthinkable. What if we're not supposed to remember? Not because aliens are erasing us, but because someone on our side is. We've already heard from insiders. Luis Elizondo, former head of ATIP, he said, some of these things we encountered defied physics, and the government wasn't ready to admit it. Why not? What's at stake? Power, panic, profit, or something else? Now think about this. If they can control what we remember, can they also control what we see? Visual perception is fragile. We know that. Hallucinations can be induced with sound, light, or electromagnetic fields. Could those craft in the sky be projections? Could the sightings themselves be part of an experiment to see how we respond, how much we remember, how far we'll go? A simulation, a psychological op, a test, and we're the subjects. That would explain the patterns. Lights with no sound, perfect shapes, synchronized memory loss, widespread yet unverifiable evidence. It would explain the controlled confusion, the official silence, the media disinterest. And if that's true, then this isn't about aliens anymore. It's about us. What we're not being told, what we're not allowed to know, what our own minds are being shielded from. And now we return to the forest, to the group, the light, the burn marks, the watches, the dreams, and the silence. No media, no official report, no investigation, just vanishing. What if they did report it? What if someone knocked on their doors, took their phones, warned them? And what if this entire encounter wasn't accidental? What if they were chosen? For what? Observation, programming, activation. And that leads us to the most terrifying question of all. If someone can take your memories, what else can they take? Your thoughts, your beliefs, your identity. Maybe we've already lost more than we know. Maybe every unexplained dream, every unexplainable fear isn't just trauma. It's evidence of something we used to know and were forced to forget. So next time someone sees a light in the sky, don't just ask what it is. Ask who doesn't want you to know. Because it's not just the aliens who might be hiding something. It might be us. UFOs, a mystery not just in the sky, but buried in our minds. What if the truth isn't in the sky? What if it's inside your head, right now? What if the scariest part of the UFO mystery isn't the unknown craft, isn't the strange lights, but the fact that maybe you've already seen it and forgot? Think about it. You've stared at the night sky. You've walked under stars, sat in silence, felt watched, but you shrugged it off. Right, said it was the wind, a shadow, your imagination. But what if it wasn't? What if there was a flash, a hum, a blink, a moment of darkness? What if time slipped and you didn't even notice? They say missing time feels like nothing, because you don't feel it. You just skip, like waking up from a dream that you didn't know you were having. But somewhere in your brain, it's still there, dormant, silent, waiting. Memories aren't always erased. Sometimes they're just buried under layers of routine, stress, sleep, fear. But every now and then, something cracks. A dream, a sound, a sudden déjà vu. And for a second, it's back. The image, the light, the moment. Your mind recoils. It can't process it, so it pushes it back down. But that second was real. And if you had one of those, you're not alone. Hundreds, thousands, from Arizona to Australia, from London to Lima, all say the same thing. I saw something, and then I forgot. Some call it trauma. Some say it's sleep paralysis, neurological tricks, brain glitches. But what if it's none of that? What if it's control? Not to hurt you, not to abduct you, but to keep you from knowing, from remembering, from realizing that what you saw was never supposed to be seen. Because once you remember, you can't unknow. You start asking questions, start seeing patterns, start connecting things that were never meant to be connected. And then you're dangerous to them, to the silence, to the system. So maybe they don't silence you with threats. They do it from inside, not by taking your life, by taking your memory. Clean, efficient, no evidence, just a strange feeling you can't explain. A moment you can't find words for. A night you remember not remembering. So here's the question. Are UFOs hiding in the sky? Or in you? Maybe the real phenomenon isn't the craft. Maybe it's the memory loss itself. Maybe they come and go all the time. Invisible, undetected, Because the ones who see, forget, by design. Not every visitor wears a suit. Not every probe leaves a scar. Not every experiment needs consent. Sometimes the most advanced form of control is simply making you think nothing happened. So now take a breath. Think hard. Last night, the night before, any blank spots, any strange dreams, any sounds that didn't belong, any seconds you can't account for. Do you remember everything? Are you sure? Because maybe you saw the lights too. Maybe you were there. Maybe you're part of the story now. And maybe this video is your first step to remembering. So be honest. Look in the mirror. Ask yourself, have I forgotten something I was never meant to forget? Because the real mystery is not out there. It's in here, in the space behind your thoughts, in the seconds your brain skips, in the dreams you dismiss. And if the truth ever comes back, will you be ready? Or will you choose to forget again? The sky isn't the only place they visit. Sometimes they land in your mind, and they leave behind more than questions. They leave silence, doubt, gaps, the kind of mystery that doesn't end with proof, but with a feeling. So, if tonight you dream something strange, if you wake up at 3:17 a.m. and your room feels off, if you hear a low hum in the distance, or see something white glowing behind your window, don't be afraid. Just remember, because the truth may not be above you, it may already be inside you.